What's up, guys? It's Josh here, back with another Kansas City Chiefs related video. And today I wanted to talk about what the heck the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do with all of their offensive linemen. So, as we all know, following the disaster that was Super Bowl 55 and the scene that was Patrick Mahomes getting knocked around and chased around play after play after play, and the offensive line giving him no help, the Kansas City Chiefs and Brett Veach said, this is never going to happen again, and they went out and did a complete overhaul of the offensive line. In fact, they brought in 6 new offensive linemen, 7 if you count Lucas Niang, since he didn't technically play last year. So that's an overhaul. Like, this is a complete overhaul. They cut both of their starting tackles from last year, and Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. And they also let go a former starting center, Austin Ryder. Not to mention Andrew Wiley and Nick Allegretti, who also started for the Kansas City Chiefs on the offensive line last year, seemed to be all the way on the back of the depth chart all of a sudden with all the additions the Kansas City Chiefs have made to the offensive line. But with all that being said, I wanted to discuss what the heck the Chiefs are going to do with all these offensive linemen and which ones I actually expect to make the roster. And I'm also just going to run down each individual offensive lineman, what I think of them, and what I think their role will be with the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's start with what I think will be the starting offensive line. So, of course, at left tackle, we got Orlando Brown. The Chiefs recently acquired Orlando Brown from the Baltimore Ravens. He is a 2-time Pro Bowl tackle with all-pro potential, and he's exactly what the Chiefs wanted. I believe from the start, since they missed on Trent Williams, this is the guy they wanted from thereafter. They wanted the sure thing at left tackle. They got it in Orlando Brown, and he's the best possible left tackle they could have gotten with that number 31 pick. So it worked out pretty well, and I think he's going to be a stalwart on the Kansas City Chiefs line for years to come. That one's a pretty easy one. Then there's Joe Thuney, the all-pro guard that the Kansas City Chiefs signed in free agency to a 5-year, $80+ million deal. Formerly of the New England Patriots, Joe Thuney comes over to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a great signing. This guy has great technique. He's a very smart player. He also is going to help out the rush offense a lot. He's coming over from New England, who had a top 3 rushing offense last year. I believe they averaged somewhere around 140 rush yards per game. So that's a really good thing to have on your offensive line. So yeah, I think he's going to be penciled in as the starting left guard, and that's pretty much a no-brainer, similar to Orlando Brown. Then at center, I got Creed Humphrey as the penciled-in starter. So the Kansas City Chiefs signed free agent Austin Blythe earlier on in free agency, and everyone saw it as a stopgap signing for sure, but I didn't really expect the Chiefs to go out and draft a new starting center. I think with drafting Creed Humphrey, that's a top 100 pick right there, and someone that a lot of people think can be a day 1 starter, and I think he's going to be the day 1 starter. But Austin Blythe will make for nice depth. Really nice depth. Austin Blythe is someone, and I'm kind of making this more about Austin Blythe than Creed Humphrey. I guess I'll just get into Austin Blythe later. But Creed Humphrey is someone that is super athletic, has good size, and you know what? The dude is just super talented. But I think once training camp is over and all is said and done this offseason and that first depth chart comes out for week 1, Creed Humphrey is going to be the starting center. You don't invest that highly in a guy if you don't plan for him to eventually start, and I think he can win the job over Austin Blythe, who I think he's good. So that's, it's not a knock on Blythe. I just think Creed Humphrey can be that good. So yeah, that's kind of what I think of that one there. All right, right guard. This one I found pretty tough. It's really a toss-up between LDT and Kyle Long, but I've slowly started to cool on LDT a little bit. I think Kyle Long's going to win the job, because if the Chiefs get anything close to Kyle Long, which I think they can from when he was healthy, since he took that year off the game, I think it's likely that he wins that right guard spot. So, yeah, and then the Chiefs also drafted Trey Smith, who also kind of complicates things, which is why I'm kind of skeptical of where LDT is in all of this. So we'll get into LDT a little bit later, but I think Kyle Long wins that right guard spot. And yeah, so we'll discuss more of that a little bit later. All right, right tackle. So I believe the starting right tackle to begin the year will be Mike Remmers. When you look at the way Mike Remmers' contract was structured, they gave him a lot of incentives that, he will be paid depending on how much he plays. And I think some of that is, okay, so if Niang can't take the job from him and he starts the whole year, well, then he's going to max out his contract incentives. But I think the plan is that Mike Remmers starts at right tackle, since he filled in pretty admirably last year at right tackle, and for Niang to eventually take over that spot and beat him out. So you could kind of make this Mike Remmers / Lucas Niang, but I definitely think that it will start with Mike Remmers being the starting right tackle to begin the year. All right, now getting into the backups. I'm going to start with Lucas Niang, the most obvious backup at the moment. I think right now he is your 6th offensive lineman. Well, him or Austin Blythe, to be honest, could be the 6th offensive lineman. Blythe can also play center or guard, but Niang is also, I think he's a little bit more important because he is your tackle, and I think he can play either tackle spot. We saw that video of him training to be a left tackle, and he is also slated to compete for the right tackle spot. So I think in a pinch he can play left tackle. If Orlando Brown were for some reason go down, I think they would have Niang try to play there over anyone else, to be quite honest with you. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Lucas Niang is your immediate backup at both tackle spots. All right, then backup left guard. I'm going to go ahead and slot 6th round pick Trey Smith as the backup left guard, because this is a guy that many saw as a top 100 talent that fell because of his medicals. But there's no denying he was a top 100 talent, and he's someone that I think has the size, the physicality, the football IQ to be able to come in and play left guard right away, to be quite honest. Kind of be the new Kalichi Osemele, a younger version of him, which is, an awesome thing to have. I don't think it's going to be Andrew Wiley. So the Chiefs tendered Andrew Wiley, who we'll get into a little bit later, but at this point, I'm not sure what Andrew Wiley does better than Trey Smith that would keep him on the roster at this point. But again, we'll get into that a little bit later, because I want to talk about the guys who I don't think are going to make the roster individually towards the end. But yeah, backup left guard, I got Trey Smith. All right, then backup center, we got Austin Blythe. I talked about him before. This guy helped lead a top 10 rushing offense in Los Angeles with the Rams, and he even earned a 73.1 run blocking grade from PFF, which is a huge step up from Austin Ryder. Definitely think Creed Humphrey is the better pass protector than him, though, and I think Creed Humphrey can be the better overall player, which is why I have him as the starting center. But there's no shame in having Austin Blythe as your backup center. That's a great situation to have. And and Austin Blythe can play guard too if they really needed to. Then backup right guard, I got LDT, since I got Kyle Long winning the job. But I'm going to go ahead and have LDT there as Kyle Long's backup. Kind of crazy that LDT could be a backup when you look at the money he's making, and just how long he started before he opted out last year. But that's why I'm also going to mention LDT again towards the end of the video, because I think he could become expendable in a situation like this. We'll have to see. Could the Chiefs, involve him in a post June 1 trade? I don't know. We'll have to see. But those are kind of my thoughts there at right guard. So tackle, I kind of already talked about Lucas Niang, but I think when you talk about who the next backup tackle could be, I would probably say Yasir Duran. Yasir Duran is someone that the Chiefs played a lot last year out of necessity. He made the 53-man roster as a UDFA. I think Andy Reid really likes him. And I mean, when you look at the other tackles that the Chiefs would have on roster, there's not really anyone that stands out above Yasir Durant. So I think Yasir Durant is your other backup tackle. So I just named a starter and a backup for all 5 offensive line spots. And the names that I did not bring up in any of those roles are Martinez Rankin, Andrew Wiley, and Nick Allegretti. So what does that mean for these guys? To be honest, I think if you had to come up with 3 names for the Chiefs to cut along the offensive line by the time they need to start making the 53-man roster official, I think those are the guys that, in my mind, aren't going to make it. I think the Chiefs are going to carry 10 offensive linemen, and I just don't see where they fit in with all those guys. Martinez Rankin, I really liked. We'll start with him. I really liked him. He showed flashes when he was first acquired back in 2019, the Super Bowl season, but then he got hurt, and then we never really saw him after that. He didn't play much last year at all, if any. I can't quite remember, but he's someone that I think Yasir Durant has kind of overtaken. I think the Chiefs like him a little bit more. I'm not sure what Martinez Rankin's future is here. I don't see him making this rotation. Then there's Andrew Wiley. So when the Chiefs tendered Andrew Wiley a while back, I was like, okay, well, this guy was one of your starting guards last year. Now you're tendering him. You want to upgrade that spot, but you're keeping a guy that you had as a starting guard last year as just general depth. I think that's a really smart move. But then the Chiefs drafted Trey Smith, and they brought in Kyle Long, and they also have LDT, and it's like, okay, I'm not sure that the Chiefs are going to carry Andrew Wiley anymore. I'm not quite sure he makes this team. Although I do think Andrew Wiley is someone that might have a little bit of trade value. I made that Leighton Vander Esch idea a little bit earlier. I'm not saying specifically Wiley would have to be involved in a Vander Esch type of deal, but I think that's someone that other teams could potentially value for maybe a later round pick if you're just trying to dump him off. We'll have to see, but either way, I don't see Andrew Wiley making it anymore. And then there's Nick Allegretti, and this one is one of the more tougher ones to say because Nick Allegretti I really liked, and he was a former 7th round pick that finally got a chance to play last year, and he played out of necessity, and he was really impressive at times. There were other times where you could tell, this guy was a 7th round pick. It was obvious. He didn't quite have the range. He didn't quite have the power. He had a rough Super Bowl as well, but this is someone that provides nice guard center depth. And I think another team could value that. He's still also relatively young. He's still on a rookie deal. Another guy that could possibly have some trade value. Teams have tape on him now, and they might see some things they like in Allegretti, and they might want to add Allegretti to their general depth. So, yeah, again, this one, it pains me to say this one because I like Allegretti a lot, actually. But, again, I just don't see how he fits into it with Creed Humphrey and Austin Blythe now in the fold. I thought Nick Allegretti maybe could be the backup center, but not anymore. There's just no way. There's no room for him. Now, I also referenced LDT and talking about him at the end of the video a little bit earlier, and I do want to say that LDT is another guy that I could see potentially being in the trade, or in a trade idea, like I mentioned earlier, and maybe the Chiefs want to keep Andrew Wiley, or maybe they want to keep Martinez Rankin so they get rid of LDT. I'm not sure. The Chiefs could, think of it that way. I'm not sure. LDT could become expendable, but I'm not quite sure because they actually lose money if they cut him. However, I think if they cut him post June 1, there's no penalty, or they could trade him post June 1 and they would actually save money. So we'll have to see what they do there, but we're not quite sure what kind of football shape LDT is, and so that one will be interesting. And then, of course, there's the practice squad. The Chiefs could always keep 1 or 2 of these guys on the practice squad. I know they also signed Prince Tega to a reserves future contract earlier before the offseason, so I think he'll probably ultimately end up on the practice squad. I don't see him making any noise in the rotation. And then maybe, look, if the Chiefs still like a Martinez Rankin, they could throw him on the practice squad. Or maybe I'm too high on Yasir Durant, and the Chiefs keep one of these other guys instead. We'll have to see. But overall, I think my evaluation is pretty accurate of what the Chiefs are going to do with all these offensive linemen. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I just kind of wanted to give a quick rundown on what I think the Chiefs' offensive line depth chart will look like. And I think I did a pretty good job here. I think I have a pretty good idea of what the Chiefs are going to do with these guys. But let me know in the comments what you guys think and what kind of your depth chart looks like if you were to make one right now and predict who the Chiefs will keep. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my picks. And yeah, I'd love to get a debate going. So that's all I got for this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers. Let's keep working. We're almost there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. And